What's going on, Boshby crew? Welcome to Be Geeking Out with the Metal Geek. I'm your host, the Metal Geek, and I have one thing to say. Welcome to the Geek Pit. Now, let me introduce the guest. He is Alvin. What's going on, Alvin?
Metal Geek, how are you?
Yeah,
How you doing?
so I'm so excited about this interview, dude. For,
Yeah.
first things first, I think we'll talk like your experience at AEW, for example. What was the
Yeah.
experience to break a little kayfabe? I mean, I was there actually in attendance right
Oh,
there.
it's awesome.
So
Nice. Where were your
for that,
seats?
the seats were actually in the ninth row on the floor.
Oh, you're right there. Were you facing hard cam? Where were you?
I was actually facing the stage.
Okay, so oh, nice. Okay,
So like
cool.
this
Nice
way,
seats.
like yeah, right
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
You were right in
anyway,
front of the plancha I took from
right,
Alex.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's tope.
now
Yeah, that's
now to
good.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Cool.
actually, you worked two matches that night.
I
Actually,
did. I did double duty.
so you worked the dark match, and then
Yes.
they brought you on later on the night
Correct.
to work Dynamite. So
Yeah.
what was the
Really
experience
cool.
like
Really cool.
working for on Dynamite and Dark
Oh man, it's
against
like
Brian?
it's one of those feelings that you hope everybody that's doing this gets a chance to feel. So I can't describe it. I wish I could. I just can't. It's almost like I was taken out of my body and just watching it from afar. Because I've dreamt of moments like that for so long,
Uh-huh.
So yeah, no, getting there, I was extra talent just like anybody else. So you get to the show early. And you kind of just hope you could get a dark match. You hope you could showcase something to show the writers and stuff that they're worth putting time into you, or worth even signing you. So you just try to get, you always be respectful to everybody, and you kind of just hang out. And I got an email from one of the photographers, the guy Speedy, and he said he needed photos. So I quickly got dressed, put my gear on, and he's like, "No, well, we got photos ready. Don't worry about it." I said, "All right, whatever. It is what it is." So I was ready in gear. So I was kind of ready to go, and then I kind of just glanced at the board, and yeah, we were up for the Dark Order match. So it's kind of cool. So me, Aaron Rourke, Brother Great in his first Dark Order. So I was like, awesome, that's cool. So yeah, here we go. I got my shot. I'm cool. I'm happy. My girlfriend wound up getting tickets to come, so she's there. My best friend Jeff Apollyon, him and his wife were there, Kristen, and it was kind of cool. I was kind of cool. I get to get in there. You know what I'm saying? Really cool. So right before we go out, Pat Buck, one of the coaches there, comes up to me. One of the producers comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, stay in gear. We may have something for you a little later." So all right, cool. I didn't think much of it, because everything changes in wrestling. Everything changes until I open the curtain to go out. Anything could change, at the last minute. So I'm like, all right, it is what it is. So we called the match quickly with Dark Order. Boom, we go out, we do the match. Match came off awesome. Yeah, I watched it back like 100 times. Yeah, man, because I'm hard on myself, so I want to make sure everything was smooth. And yeah, I watched it even back later on that night with Nice. Me and Tony Nice watched it in the hotel room later on that night. And no, and Nice is very hard on me. So even he was like, "No, man, it's pretty flawless." And I get that from him because I trained under him. So everything I did, it was like, I would do it again. I would do it again. Back bumps. I would do it again. Everything I learned, my takedowns from everything in professional wrestling, I was always doing it 3, 4, 5 times. When guys in my class like Milk Chocolate and guys like Jesse Vane and Mike Verna, those guys I all trained with, and they would do it once or twice, bam, they got it. I would do it once or twice, think I got it. It's like, nope, do it again. So Nice is always hard on me, you know what I mean? So for him to say it's pretty flawless was cool. So yeah, then we get back and Pat Buck's like, "No, man, staying here." And then the Combat Club came up to us like, "All right, we're squashing you guys. That's what we want to do." And we went out there, and here we go. And that was kind of cool because during their entrance, as you know, we were already in the ring since you were there. Yeah. We got brought in pretty early, so we got brought in right as commercial started.
Yeah,
so I don't know if you were watching me, but I was just I was just standing kind of like this in the ring, just looking. Because I didn't get that shot to do it for the Dark Order. Once we came out, bam, the Dark Order's music hit. So I was in character. So for a minute while we're on commercial break, I was kind of just looking, just as a fan, just standing in the middle of the ring. I was like, "Wait, am I at a place?"
Yeah.
Just trying to look at the crowd. Like, this is awesome. Just taking it in. I wanted to just take it in because I know I am 40 now. So this may have been my one and only shot. I'm going to take
don't
this.
say that, man. Don't say that.
No, I hope not. Trust me, but you never know. So I wanted to just take this in. And then there's Aubrey, the referee. She's in my ear. We're back in 3, 2, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And then Aqua made their way in, and we were off to the races. So, yeah, the best night of my life so far. Well, one of the best nights. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And hopefully a lot more coming. You know?
Yeah, very cool. Just so awesome. We got to work with Brian Danielson and Claudio, and
yeah, that was special, man. Especially working with Danielson. Just talking to him and just hearing him do things and just listening to the promo, even though I was on the floor, knocked out, hearing that promo and just seeing how smart he is, and seeing how smart they are, and just watching their brains work, just as we're calling everything, just watching kind of Moxley come up with this thing. He's like, all right, now I'll do this. Okay, no, let's do this instead, and then watching him come to the ring. What got me with how Moxley's so good, because he comes to the ring. And I know the order. I know I'm in the middle. He's going to come in the middle. But if he comes in first. And he doesn't just walk in and go, all right, watch out, Claudio. He kind of go in the middle. He kind of does his Moxley turn he used to do when he was in CZW and shit. Like that lunatic. He kind of just was like, and dipped. It was really cool. It was really cool. Really cool moment.
All right, yeah. Yeah. Also, you worked VPW this weekend. So
yes,
with
pro.
With you worked with Percy against Gangon.
Yeah.
And so what was that experience
that was
like?
Fun. That was fun. Anytime you get in the ring with guys that know what they're doing, it's always a fun time. And then just being there personally, watching his brain work and watching him call spots, and then Gangon kind of fixing them. You know what I'm saying? Cool. Just kind of putting everything together and watching these guys put everything together, and me kind of sitting back and plugging my spots in here and there, and it's awesome, man. It's awesome. It's a really cool. It's a really cool place to be, Victory Pro. Really have a nice crowd, and it's really a cool atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? Work with these guys. So now we go on to me and Gangon. Singles match will be our third singles match. First one was back in January of 2016 was our first one for SWA, for Suffolk Wrestling Alliance. Then our second one was about a year ago at Victory Pro. His debut at Victory was him and I tapped him out. So we are 1-1 because he won the first one. I tapped him out the second one.
And Respect the Craft is ripping right now. Won't be.
There he is. There he is. Okay, right.
Come on,
Ray. You know what? When you give somebody a clear interview, then when I can talk, a clear shot. That's all I wanted was a clear platform. Metal Geek. Let me tell you, man. I wanted a clear platform. That's all I wanted. A clear, clean platform to express what was on my mind. And he couldn't even give me that. I rest my case.
Man, I mean, I feel the interview was just so biased, by the way. That interview was very biased,
Very. It was extremely biased. And then I listened to him and Gangon like, they're delusional. They are delusional. Dr. Sleep should be put to sleep.
And that may happen next month, right there.
Yeah, it will. It's going down. It's going down.
All right. Now we're gonna. We didn't come alone tonight. No, Alvin.
I know.
We came to actually an agreement here tonight.
We did.
So let's bring out the director, Paul Lauria, right now.
The director.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. How are we doing tonight?
What's going on, Paul? How's it going?
It's going. Thank you for the invite, Alvin. It's good to see you again.
Same here, Paul. Same here.
Good,
man. How are you?
Good. Doing much better now that we kind of cleared the air a little bit and got ourselves situated for Friday night. And we did. We'll just jump right into that. And just to say, it's good to know that we've got everything sorted out, and that come Friday night, that Alvin Alvarez will be in attendance. Wrestling is Now, Ridge Park, New Jersey, Sunset Flip, and I'm very excited about it.
Yes, we are, Paul. Absolutely. Glad you and I could come to a contract agreement. Very happy to be back. Very happy to be here. And that's like I always say, I hope to make you proud. That's not a work. It's not that's
no, Geek. I don't know if you're aware, but Alvin and I have a lot of history. Alvin was a fan of HWA 25 years ago. Sit there Thursday nights with Tony Nese. watching, watching SAT, watching Amazing Red, watching the guys of HWA, and it's pretty awesome. And I am very proud to say that I was there at NYWC for his debut match. I was there the night Alvin debuted in the ring. And again, just having that history and to finally, we did it on March 31st, but that was my kind of introduction to the company. But to now finally be able to be within the same company, working together. Listen, booking and talent, it's always a rocky road. And we had some hiccups along the way, but we have gotten ourselves to a place where we're in a good spot.
We have. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't wait for Friday.
So for the fans that don't know it and they want to catch up with what's going on, is like, so if you could explain a little bit of what's going on.
Well, Alvin was asked. Alvin did not ask to work at Win. I personally recruited Alvin. I wanted him as part of this company, and he was happy to oblige. He was excited about it and everything else. And with I completely understand it. He wanted to make a moment. He wanted to make an impact, and he wanted to make a splash. And his way of doing that was to issue an open challenge. And he issued it not only to Win, but he issued it within wrestling itself on the indie scene. And Win is a destination promotion where people jump on the opportunity. And Dickie Rods answered that call. And now it's my first night booking, and I've got Alvin showing up. And again, this is for an opportunity. This is a big opportunity to go on to the Fatal Elimination match to become one of 10 men to wrestle for that belt. And I kind of just felt that I don't know that just calling out anybody was the direction we should have went. Maybe it would have been a little bit better if it came to me first that we could have discussed. But listen, I'm old school. I did this 25 years ago. It's 2023. This is the world we live in. Everything is instant. It's social media. Boom. You got something to say, you say it, and people react. I'm an old school guy where I didn't have these things when I wrestled. So it's just a little bit of a generation gap that we both saw it our way. And I understood his way. He understood what I was getting at. I kind of went out on a limb and told him he went into business for himself, which theoretically he did, but I respect that he did. It's just when Dickie took the pinfall, it made things a little complicated. So I just wanted to put sprinkle a little bit of magic dust on there and say, well, listen, if you're going to do issue open challenges, the winner is going on to Fatal Elimination. And listen, I wanted nothing more than to see Alvin pull that one off. But listen, Dickie's a 20-something year veteran in this business. There's no shame in, taking an L to Dickie Rods. It got a little bit rocky for us for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and a lot of posts have been lobbying to get Alvin on the show because
absolutely.
So if you want to explain that one, you actually wrote on social media that Alvin's still part of the show in some way, right?
Absolutely, no pun intended. Absolutely, Alvin. It is one of those things where, to me, it would be a disservice and it would actually be bad business for me not to utilize Alvin the best way I possibly could. But at the same token, we had to make sense of the situation. I can't take a guy when it issued an open challenge and then lost the match and then insert him into a title match there. So it was something that we had to work out. Alvin felt differently. The fans spoke up and we listened to them. And I understand that, like I said, I'm a fan of Alvin. I wanted it more than anything else. So when those fans spoke up, it's something that, you got to take a minute. You got to listen to what they're saying. They're making sense of it. So we did what we did. We did business the right way. Alvin and I, we talked it out. We worked out a deal. And Friday night, June 16th, Alvin will be wrestling is now.
That's just so awesome. So
it is. It is.
And I'll say it this way. I hope that the opportunity Alvin has on Friday night is an opportunity that changes the game at Win. I hope he makes this moment count where everyone is talking about his night.
I'm excited about it. I
Paul. I hope that comes true, Paul. I really do. I really do. I hope whatever wrestling is now has for me in 48 hours. Hope they're in for the match of their life.
I mean, Yeah, we talked about the card the other day. If you want to run down the card again, I mean, there's just so many great matches on this card. You know.
Yeah, we talked about it being destination promotion, where now that the ball's rolling and the way we promote on social media and the team of guys, and I don't mean the team as in the management team, I mean the roster itself. These guys are incredible. These guys, again, a guy like Alvin, a guy like PJ Savage, even Joey Conway, who I'm not a fan of. Every one of these guys doesn't just promote themselves. They're promoting the company as well. They're pushing this company, and people are starting to take notice of that. And we're getting a lot of interest from people all over the place that want to come in from different promotions. And we've got to be pretty select about who we have. And I've gone on record to say this a bunch of times. The difference between wrestling is now and most other promotions is that we're kind of the independent version of episodic television where, we don't have a TV deal, but what happens on our shows carries over to another show. And we utilize platforms like this, like your show, Geek, and we tell these stories in between. Everybody in that room is great. Alvin, you and Alvin can attest to this. You just went to a show over the weekend. Great show. Everybody inside those ropes is great. So me as a booker, I've got to find those little tangible things that change what's outside of the ring that makes this even better. And Alvin happens to be one of these guys, and that's why I didn't want to pass up on this opportunity. But so are some of the other guys we know. Newcomers in wrestling now. Guys like Desmond Cole, Gabriel Sky, Joe Acasio, Man Bun Jesus. These are guys that, the fans want to see. And now we have this ability to go. Now you combine that with the guys that we had from the last show. You combine that with a PJ Savage, a Chris Cage, a Joey Conway, the SAT and the new backseats. And, I've said it a million times. In independent wrestling, promotions and promoters and bookers, we're kind of all playing with the same toys. It's just how we present them and how we utilize them for the audience. That differentiates us from everybody else. So on June 16th, we're going to find out how well we do that.
Yeah, you mentioned that also, that about the wrestlers and everything, but you also have to mention that the podcasters are all together in on it as well, which is another thing. So I really appreciate how I don't think I've been a part of the show where like all the podcasters are together and it has a social media tour. I don't think anyone is doing anything like this.
Very true.
Yeah, and Geek, I don't know if you realize this, but Tantalizing Tony was part of the company from kind of Jump Street, right? He's part of it behind the scenes. You were the first independent podcaster that we reached out to be part of this thing. You are the number one podcaster that we jumped on right away to say, hey, are you interested in this? And I remember you kind of saying to me, like, what exactly are we talking about here? It's a different approach, But Alvin knows this. If you go back to a time 25 years ago with HWA, the genesis of HWA, the forefathers of HWA, Kid Ego, Craig Casey, Kevin Bates, Storm and Mike Norman, Mikey Whipwreck, myself, we did things our own way. We played by our own rules, which is why we had a promotion that wasn't legit through New York State Athletic Commission. We did things because we didn't want to play within the guidelines that they told us we had to play in, and we wanted to do it our way. And for 25 years, I wondered what in this age you can do what we did back then with the tools that we have right now, like podcasts and everything else. And I've watched tons of shows. I've seen Alvin wrestle 25 times, but I've always wondered, why is nobody ever tying these things together with all the technology we have? I felt like everybody was kind of doing it individually. Like Alvin goes out and promotes himself, and he goes on his Instagram and his Twitter and his Facebook, and he promotes himself. And that's what indie wrestlers do. But there's so many other tools that if we could integrate them and say, hey, well, if this podcast and this one and this one and this one tie us together, just like an actor would when he's doing a movie. He goes on every network and he promotes that show, every late night show, and he promotes that show. Well, we're doing the same thing. We're going to get these guys in, and Geek, it's a learning experience for you too. You're now learning the inner workings of the wrestling business by being associated with us.
Yeah. And I've also noticed that, like I said before, no one's actually doing this. And more companies, more independent companies, should be promoting their wrestlers You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll like, for example,
Yeah.
I'll have Alvin on a show, and then, for example, you would think the company would promote that because they're talking about our talent. No, they don't. So
Yeah.
this is why they struggle
Very
to sell
true.
tickets, is because the company themselves. But you guys are different. You're all in on your podcast, basically.
All in on the talent, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things that wanted me to make this deal,
like I said,
Paul.
talent. So
you know what I'm saying? It's one of the things that wanted me to come to a nice agreement with you, because it is the way you guys promote your talent as being the promoter. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely one of the things that attracted me. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, it's important to me. Like I said, like if this was a year ago, I can understand that Alvin's going to go on his socials and he's going to promote his next event. And then you, Geek, as a podcaster, are going to say, hey, I've got Alvin as a guest. Now, you're hoping, as you know, Geeking Out is going to get some of Alvin's eyes on you. Alvin saying to himself, hey, listen, I'm going to get out there. Maybe I get some of Geek's eyes on me. But the question becomes, where is the promotion in that? So I figured, hey, I'll be the catalyst of this. I'll get you two together under the Win banner, and we can do this. And now all of us are getting our eyes on each other. So I take great pride in that, in taking, if you're on a Win roster, if you're on our roster, you're part of this team. And I personally take it upon myself to push that team, because I want you to be promoting for Alvin. I want Alvin to promote for Alvin, and I want to promote for Alvin. And I'm going to do it with Joey Conway. I'm going to do it with PJ Savage, the new backseats, the Audacity, and everybody else. And it's bittersweet, because as more and more companies pick up on this technique, then it won't seem so unique to us. But for right now, it's our thing, and that's where we're going to go with it.
Yeah, great idea.
Like I said, Win is changing the game, and they're always innovating, just like the SATs were innovative in HWA. Right?
Hey, putting the dots together, man. Yo, man.
and more.
That's what's up.
And hopefully, more companies start using that technology to say, "Hey, they're on the right path right there. Why don't we use like podcasters to advertise their shows, so then we could advertise the wrestler, so then we could sell more tickets to our shows."
How about this one? Like, pro wrestling, it's good to be a fan of professional wrestling, and it's good to be a professional wrestler. Because when's the last time you've seen a world champion show up at his school and take on the number one heel?
Yes.
You've never seen that. Maxwell Jacob Friedman is changing the game of professional wrestling, one promo after another, and it's for the good.
He's giving back,
and you're absolutely right. And major credit has to be given to Brian Myers and Pat Buck at Creative Pro to be able to utilize all of these things and tie it together, because they also have managed to say, when they're on AEW, they can talk about Creative Pro. And that never existed in wrestling.
Right.
And it's interesting, because Alvin, this is one of the things I wanted to ask you, because you were a fan back in '98, right? And I'm wrestling. I did my wrestling thing, and I'm running HWA. And then in 2001, we transition, and it turns into basically NYWC. And you had come in the middle of this where I was away, but I don't really recall. When I was wrestling, there was not a very strong independent scene at all in the Northeast. Maybe one promotion at best, two. Through your time when you broke in, were there other promotions that you could work with outside of NYWC? Like, was it predominant, the indie scene?
It wasn't predominant. Like, I knew that was my only way to WWE. I mean, that was the goal, because remember, AEW didn't exist. TNA was there, but nobody really wanted to go to TNA. So WWE was the only spot to be at. And at that point, when I broke in, CM Punk was the champion. So he kind of started that tone of, okay, he's a smaller guy, and they put the belt on him. Smaller guys that are under 6 foot have a shot here. That's where the kind of mode was. Where just coming out of that big man phase.
You had your Ring of Honors around, and maybe CZW, but even Ring of Honor was fairly significant. Where that's a big jump. It's a big jump to be able to go from an NYWC into Ring of Honor. That was a big jump.
Yeah, that was a huge jump. Yeah, you got that wasn't indies. Like I didn't count Ring of Honor as independents.
Ring of Honor was your generation's ECW.
Right, it was like a step up. Even like Impact was a step up. Ring of Honor was like on an Impact level, so it was like Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, Major League. Like they're like a step up. They're step 2. Like my indies was, remember, Creative Pro wasn't around at the time. Wrestle Pro was at the time Pro Wrestling Syndicates, but they were in Jersey. So you had them in Jersey, which is even a little step up from what it was a little bit, the talent they had. Then you had really on the island, you had Victory Pro Wrestling, and you had NYWC, but at that time they were battling each other because at that time Kirsten, I think Sean didn't get along, so they were battling each other. So when I came up, you could never do VPW.
Yep.
It was strictly, nope, you can't do that. You could do any promotion you wanted. You could not do Victory Pro Wrestling. So whatever.
That was a big rivalry back then.
And honestly, you know what's funny is I was the first wrestler to cross over.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I was the first wrestler, I believe so. Radio might have to double check this for me, but I believe I was the first NYWC wrestler to cross over and work. Coming from NYWC and work for wrestling. Because Dan Barrett, I think, was next one, but he was after me.
The reason I asked this question is because now if you fast forward to today's time, 2023, and you look at just Long Island in itself, you've got NYWC that was here for all that time. Victory Pro is still here. Yeah. But now you've got Remarkable Wrestling.
Yeah,
you've got You've got House of Glory.
House of Glory. Creative Pro. You have Pro.
Now you've got and huge props to Championship
Entertainment Theater. Now you got them out east, which is a phenomenal show.
Full disclosure, I actually popped my head in there over the weekend with my wife to just check out the facility because Joe Ocasio and Mark are doing a great job with that. They put another spin on that, and it's a little. I'll be honest. They're playing with a little bit of fire, but I love what they're doing because I think their demographic is perfect just for that. When you go that far out east, it's an amazing area out there. Putting that spin on wrestling, I can't wait to see what that turns into down the line.
You know what? This goes out to any professional wrestler around the 3 to 6 year range. Contact Joe Ocasio to try to get on the show. The reason why is because the way the crowd's set up is like medieval times. So if anybody
that's what I was about to say.
Been in medieval times. Medieval times, you kind of go in and they race horses and shit around. And what happens is you get a color. So you're a team. And you're going to hope your horse wins in the team. And that's how it's broken down. So it's similar to that. So as you come in as a fan, you're given a color. So you're given either green, blue, red, I believe.
They have 4. I think maybe yellow.
Maybe yellow. Green, blue, yellow. That's it.
There was 4 sections when I went.
Green, blue, red, yellow. So it's 4 sections. And depending on where you sit, you get that color. So now the wrestlers represent the color. So what I do, the first match with Brother Greatness I had a couple weeks ago, instead we booked it like I was more aggressive. So I was the heel, but we decided to have the crowd fight each other. So when I came out, my music kind of wasn't really playing. So I said, you know what, just cut the music. I'm gonna cut a promo while I'm walking to the ring. This just hit me while I'm walking anyway. Usually good stuff for me happens, and it just happens. So I cut the music. So I walk out and I go, I have the blue team. Blue team stand up. So I have a whole blue stretch that stands up. So I go, we hate the green team. That's them. So they all boo. So I go, on 3, we're gonna say we hate the green team. 1, 2, 3, we hate the green team. So right away they're fighting each other.
Yeah. And
we get in the ring, we book the match, and the whole match they're just fighting.
I think you make a great point. I think the fact that learning a young wrestler now learning how to work
right
the crowd and with the crowd, it's almost like a hybrid version of this generation meets the old school, because you always hear old school wrestlers talking about how you call it on the fly, we'll figure it out there, and that's kind of, it is a lost art with the younger generation, that everything else is now very fast paced, choreographed, but yet still very exciting. You can't say that it's wrong. It's almost like the multiverse, where here's old school wrestling, here's this new. Neither one are wrong. It's very, very exciting. But
yes,
a show like that forces a worker to interact with an audience member where they might not. Where usually the guys are back and they're just thinking spot A, B, C, D, E, and that disconnects you from an audience. You know, this puts you back to having to deal with your members. So I think it's pretty cool. And like I was saying, I think it's pretty amazing though that now for a wrestler to come up in 2023 and know that you could have 5 or 6 companies within 45 minutes of your house. That's an amazing opportunity.
Like I haven't traveled I'm going to travel Friday. It's going to be the first I travel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For like the last 2 months since I traveled last show on March 31st. That's the furthest I traveled. You know, because Ace is coming back in a couple months, so I haven't been going out there. But yeah, I've been wrestling every weekend, twice a weekend, in a matter of like 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
It's amazing. Awesome. It's such a great thing for New York, for Long Island, for wrestling.
Especially for Long Island pro wrestling. If you're on Long Island and you're a wrestling fan, you're not catching these shows. I don't know what's going on.
I'm just so happy that for me as a wrestling fan, I'm just so happy that Long Island has a market again. You know what I mean? Because you have Win, you have Championship Entertainment Theater, you have NYWC, VPW, Creative Pro, Remarkable. I'm probably missing a couple, but
there's a lot out there, man. SWA, yeah, ton, man. Suffolk Wrestling Alliance, they're doing shows. Yeah, it's crazy.
SWA, Full Faith,
Full Fade.
Yeah, man. Right, they're doing a lot right now, and you don't even need to leave Long Island because I remember, I think it was 5-6 years ago, there was not much on Long Island.
There wasn't. Yeah,
that's where my question originally came from. With Alvin, he came in. You know, how much opportunity on an indie level was there? Because I know for me, my journey was a lot different than most. It was kind of placed in my lap. I didn't like what Alvin said. Alvin debated. He wanted to be a wrestler. He had a dream to be a wrestler. He went to a wrestling school. He did all those things. Mine was a lot different, where my opportunities were kind of in my face before I could even acknowledge them. And I had to learn them on the fly. Like my first match ever, professional match ever, was in the Manhattan Center, teamed up with Mikey Whipwreck against Public Enemy, and on the fly. And I had no idea I would ever have an opportunity to wrestle. Paul Heyman said, "Kid, do you have your gear?" And like always, we were supposed to back then.
Always bring your gear in a wrestling show. Yep.
I was only there as ring crew, so. Right away, it was in my face, and ECW in my face, like learning on the fly. And then it was only till after that. But when I got out of it, I was a little bit spoiled because now I had that ECW name recognition. So getting indies, that was easy. Before that, I would have to go to an indie show. I would have to tell a booker. I would literally tell him, if you book me and Kid Eagle Craig Casey, give us the match, do not pay us. And I promise you we'll be the best match in your card. And if we are not, you never have to use us again. And if we are, all I ask is that you book us for pay the next time. And any promoter back in 1990s was like, wait, you'll wrestle for free?
Yeah, okay, all right.
Come on in. But we lived up to it. We would be better than the main event matches, and then we'd get a booking out of that. Storm and Norman was probably the only one, because he was technically the only one that was trained. So he was like the one that he got his gimmick and his boots, and so he would get indie work, and we would all just come to follow him, and then we would try to get work from wherever we could. And then, once the ECW thing clicked for us, that's when it all exploded for all of us, because now we all had like this little bit of name recognition, and getting indie work was a lot of fun because now we knew the names in the locker room, and it just took off, and then so forth and so on. HWA happened, and that was it.
Yeah. Just seeing the photo, like with you and Eddie Guerrero and Benoit and those guys.
I say it all the time. Listen, I will never turn around and talk about how I was this former ECW star. Listen, to me, that's an insult to a guy like Mikey Whipwreck and the guys that did it for a career. And what I will say is that I had an opportunity that a lot of people didn't. And I learned this much later in life. When you hear the stories of the legendary 2300 Arena, I was there for that. And whether I was there wrestling or I was there as ring crew, I was there for that. I shared the locker room with Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Too Cold Scorpio, Chris Jericho, Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, Taz. Like that was a normal night for us back then. And this is coming. He was 5'5" and 135 pounds that gets told I have an opportunity. And it was just because of how much we wanted to be there and how much work.
Yeah.
And it all started because Paulie was just like, as ring crew, he would send us in to get chokeslammed by 911. And then I've told the story a million times. I got very, very lucky because I made a mask called the Young Dragons. And Paulie somehow or another found out about it, but it explained why a 5'5" wrestler could work. And that was it for me. But, this is before Ray and Psychosis debuted.
Yeah.
So this is the time when Mikey Whipwreck and me, there was a magazine that came out in that era. And it was when ECW debuted on MSG Network. That opening match was me and Mikey. And I remember there was a magazine at the time and it came out and there was a little article about how no one in the United States has ever done this, where they've had two 19 to 20-year-old kids that were completely undersized and, basically had no business being in wrestling in America because we weren't Ray and Psychosis. And, a testament to Paul Heyman, but it did change the trajectory of where I was going for the rest of my life with it.
Absolutely, man. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy just how wrestling evolved,
And listen, it goes back to our other conversation.
Yeah.
Huge credit has to go to Mikey Whipwreck because when we talked about all those promotions right there, a huge portion of those promotions exist directly because of HWA and Mikey Whipwreck. Shane O'Neill was HWA's first student, owner-operator of NYWC. Alvin was there the night Amazing Red won the HWA World title when he didn't know he was winning it.
Yeah.
Owner-operator of House of Glory. Brian Excel was HWA. SAP, owner-operator of Win from HWA. Then you got Mikey Whipwreck. You got Brian Myers goes to NYWC, trained by Mikey Whipwreck, Creator Pro. I mean, when you look at where these promotions are now, a lot of them spawned from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who knows what Win is going to create, man, in the future? Who knows?
But all of these companies, like you just said, when you turn on wrestling in an hour from now, and you turn on AEW and you see Chris Statlander and you see MJF, and you realize that just came from 20
they're
minutes.
They're all Mikey's guys. It's all Mikey's guys.
20 minutes down the road in Hicksville, on 107,
man.
A school called Creator Pro, and this is where these guys came from.
Yeah,
that's pretty significant stuff right there.
I think all the world, all of them, I think most of the entire roster, AW rosters, Mikey Whipwreck students, or a sublet of Mikey Whipwreck. You know what I'm saying? All the guys signed now. It's wild.
That's just crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. From Alex Reynolds to
Geek, you're a little late to the party, man. You're too young. There's a whole thing going on before you were even born where it got pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I think I'm up there though. I'm getting up there though.
How old are you, man? How old are you?
I'm 37 right now. So
all right, you were a little too young for HWA, but you were around.
I made NYWC though. I watched the beginning of NYWC, that 2002 Psycho Circus right there, man.
Oh, you were there for that?
Yeah, I think was it 2002 or 2003?
It was 2003, but all right, nice. All right, so you were there when I was a fan.
Yeah,
that's another one that's kind of legendary right there. The Psycho Circus. Yeah. The Psycho Circus started as just a match, and that was an HWA match that then went on to become a show at NYWC.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was teamed up with. I was in the first ever HWA Psycho Circus match, teamed up with the SAT, and I want to say I don't remember who our other partner was, but against Mikey Whipwreck with Amazing Red, with Shane O'Neill, all of us were the first ever Psycho Circus matchup, and then they took that concept and made an entire show out of it.
Yeah, and now it's our WrestleMania.
It's probably Long Island's most notable match, right?
Yeah, absolutely, by far.
I definitely, and I think I was there when Dickie Rods turned heel on Mason Rage. That's how far
I was there for that. I was there for that.
And then they started the feud in the Psycho Circus match, and they made Mason to a big babyface back then. Yeah.
Yep,
and it's kind of crazy. Here we are in a second show of a new company starting all over again, and who knows where this is going to go?
Yeah,
I was there when Damien Dragon actually broke the table. I jumped off the ladder. I think it was the side effect off the ladder through the table. I was at that. I think that was I believe that was Psycho Circus as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's how far back I go.
You were there, man. Yeah, you there. You hit some of those shows.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And when Tommy Dreamer made an unexpected appearance right there at Psycho Circus against the nobody knew back then Matt Stryker, which everyone knows
Stryker
now.
was there.
So, yeah. That and damn, man. Good times.
There's a lot of history on this island, man, and I don't know that, when people talk about wrestling in the Northeast between us and the Doghouse, that's really where, almost all this. Now I know that New England is really strong right now, which is great.
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest is getting a lot. That's really, really good. So, but, we made our mark. We made our mark in on Long Island, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Long Island's strong. The whole Northeast is strong. Man, you look at a lot of talent, signed talent. The majority of them are from the Northeast.
Yeah,
I know it's a tough question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. As a fan, what would you say the match you're looking forward to this Friday is?
Are you asking me or are you asking Alvin?
I'll ask Alvin both as a fan.
For me, I want to see who's world champion because I want to see where I need to surpass. I need to see who's the man, and where I have a goal that sets myself up for a goal. So the world championship match is the match I'm looking forward to.
I have a couple in that. Number one, I definitely want to see SAT in the new backseats because I think the dynamics of that match is so incredible that, whether you're an old fan or a new fan, it applies. Because, and I've said this on a few other podcasts, you've got this historic rivalry between the Backseat Boys and the SAT. But now you've got them as trios in this match. And you've got an additional member of the SAT, Will Maximo, who's never faced Johnny Kashmere. So regardless of how legendary this rivalry was, it's brand new. And now Johnny Kashmere takes on this new young team that's looking to make a mark, that had an incredible showing on the last event. And they've never been in the ring. Tommy and JP Grayson have never been in the ring with the SAT yet. So it's like you have so much familiarity in this match, but at the same time, it's a first time ever. So I don't know who's got an advantage or where it's going to go. And on the same token, I think when you see a team like Miracle Generation versus Above the Rest, I think that just epitomizes today's wrestlers. And I think that match could literally be worth the price of admission alone. But selfishly, I will say it's the Fatal Elimination match. And not because I created it, but at the same time, it is because I created it. Because what I created was I wanted to give the ultimate challenge. I wanted to give the ultimate presentation. I didn't want it to be just two guys wrestling for a title. I wanted to put out there every generation of wrestling. You're new, you're young, you're older, you're a veteran. So you've got guys like 50 Rods and Papa John, but then you've got guys like Ellis Taylor and Brando Lee. It's old school. It's phone style versus, basically, you got Papa Don style of anti-leg slap city against some of the best leg slappers in the game today. And then you got psychological warfare of a Joey Conway. You've got Hamlet. You've got PJ Savage. This match can go anywhere, and it all depends on the perception of what you think today's wrestling is. I'm an old school guy. I would love to see a ring general be the front man of this company. But I'm also a huge fan of PJ Savage, and I think he's a great hero. But yet you can't deny how exciting the future of this business is, watching these young guys do their thing. And I think we've seen it in AEW. When the Young Bucks the Young Bucks have made famous what SAT tried to do in wrestling for the last 20 years. He brought a style that people said, you can't do this anymore. It's becoming acceptable. You can't deny that 15,000 fans at AEW, Alvin, you were in the ring. You can't deny that audience loves what they're seeing.
Of course.
So again, it's not wrong. So having a young, upstart, future of this business guy like Ellis Taylor or Sal Savelli become your champion is a perfect representation of 2023.
Absolutely. You never know.
How do you do that? You put all 10 of them. You show every style of wrestling, every demographic, every age group, everything, and now we see who the best really is.
Right.
Yeah.
I
The
agree.
thing that strikes me about this fatal elimination match, it kind of the way you explained it. It kind of reminds me a little bit, sort of like a scramble match in a way.
Well, it is pinfall, so it's elimination. You have to pin your opponent. So it's almost like Survivor Series, but you're not on teams. But remember Sean and Razor in the first ever ladder match, right? Look at the way the ladder match has evolved. Look at the way people looked at that match and figured out ways to use the match to their advantage. You have 9 other guys out there. You either have 9 enemies or you can make alliances. But whether you choose to or not, when you get to the final 4, now it's fatal elimination. Now it's an elimination match, fatal way. First pinfall takes it. So your whatever alliance you make has to go out the window. You can't hide in this match. You can't do what you do in a battle royal. You can't sneak out of the ring and wait until the end. Because if you're not in that fight and you don't get that pinfall, you don't win. So it's a combination of Survivor Series meets the Royal Rumble meets a regular match, but yet no one's ever done it, so there's no advantage to any wrestler. So I guess the wrestler that's going to have the best advantage is the guy that's sitting home right now trying to figure out the math to say, how do I utilize the 9 other guys and that ring to my advantage the best way? Do I avoid? Do I align? I don't know. I'm just the guy that brought it down. They've got to figure this stuff out.
Yeah. Interesting. It's an interesting match. Interesting.
I'm super excited about it. This Friday, man.
Who you rooting for, Metal Geek? Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting for?
Who am I going? I said this on the podcast before. I'm going for Paul's best friend right there, Joey Conway.
Huh?
Please.
Good pick.
My worst nightmare.
I don't know.
Your best buddy right there. If you want
Joey
to
Conway.
Now let's be honest. He couldn't get past PJ Savage.
Nightmare for me.
Listen, he couldn't get past PJ Savage. He had to cheat. Let's be honest.
But like I said before, anyone in that match could be the champion by the end of the night. Anyone.
Yeah.
Alvin, do you have a pick for who you would like to step in the ring with if you had that opportunity?
PJ Savage all day.
Man.
All right.
Yeah, man. I think he has it. He has everything. He checks all the boxes to be the first world champion.
Mm-hmm.
And he proved that on our first show.
He did.
We watched back the main event. The crowd loved him. He put people, they felt like he brought those people there.
Yeah.
The crowd loved him. Everything he did in the ring was crisp. He wants it. And Conway stole it from him. He's coming for revenge like that.
Conway did steal it. But Chris Cage wants it too.
He does. And he had a great showing against Papadon.
He did. And Papa just had that little bit of experience factor at the very end.
That's exactly what it was.
And listen, we've all said it on any given night. That's all it takes is just that one little moment. And but what Chris Cage did in that match really opened a lot of eyes. I mean, it opened my eyes. I recognized right away how great this guy really is. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Wow, Chris Cage is good. That's why he's the limitless champion.
Mm-hmm.
Limitless, sorry. He's the New Age Wrestling champion.
One match I would love to see a rematch, and Paul would definitely agree with me on this one. I would love to see a rematch between Papa Don and Alvin.
That's a good match.
Papa and Alvin, that's money right there. Yeah. But listen, the truth of the matter is, I think when you start going down this roster, there's money everywhere.
Yeah.
If I put Alvin in the ring with Joe Ocasio, that's money. If I put Alvin in the ring with Joey Conway, that's money. If I put him in there with a young Brando Lee, Ellis Taylor, or Sal Savelli, that's money. It really depends on when you look at these matches, suddenly what I envision in my head is whether the Alvin is the stronger, bigger veteran against this young, youthful, fired up kid, or is he going toe to toe with another brilliant mind like a Papadon or a Dickie Rods? Is he going against somebody like a PJ Savage where suddenly, I don't know, when I think about PJ Savage and I think about Papadon, Alvin and PJ in the same match, I feel like it's just a strong, hard-hitting, solid two bulls just killing it match. And, I mean, who's not going to want to see something like that?
Man. And Serena says she sees Chris Cage or PJ taking it.
PJ.
A lot of people are saying PJ on this one, man. Yeah.
I think PJ's got it. He's been wanting it. PJ's got it. Tell him.
But like I said, there's no wrong answer in this match because everyone, I feel, is just so good in this match. And
it is, and that's one of the things that does make my job a lot easier is I don't think there's a throwaway. And they are this entire roster. Like, I've gone out on record to say that I don't book indie shows traditionally. And what I say traditionally is, I mean, I guess from my experience when I was a kid, I was brought into a show, and because I was a smaller guy, like I talked about with Kid Ego, or even if it was me and Mikey or Norman in the tag team match, we were thrown on first. And that was fine. I loved it. We were the attention-getting device. We got everybody's eyes open. Everybody wanted to, get psyched up for the show. And then you just went match 2, 3, 4, 5 until you got to your big name main event. And that's when everybody got their payoff because that's when they got to see the big WWE star or whoever that was. I don't book that way. I believe that the locker room is the star. I believe that these guys, I don't go booking. And if you notice that in that graphic of this match and of this show, there is no big WWE name. There is no former star. That is our star. That locker room are the stars, and I have nothing but the most faith in them to carry this. And what I love about them is that it reminds me so much of both ECW and the HWA, where you got your time to go out into that ring, and that is your opportunity to be the main event. That is your opportunity to steal that show and take it from the next guy. Do it in a respectful way. But when Alvin was out there in his match on Friday night, I expect nothing less than Alvin to try to steal that entire night from every other guy in that locker room. Because I know every other match is going to try to do the exact same thing to him. And that's what registers with the audience to me. I don't want to set them up to just be in wait for this big star because I don't really want to hear the big star getting the chanting and the rah-rah compared to our guys who are putting in all that work on the – there is no such thing as the undercard. It is matches. It is matches 1 through 8, 1 through 9, whatever it might be. And that is your time to go out there and perform.
I was just about to add that, Paul. It's like you don't have one big name in that main event. It's like everybody. It's like, and to be honest, you don't need it because these guys work their asses off to be in the main event. And I see your vision right now that you don't need it.
When March 31st happened, I was brought into the company. I was asked in December. I was announced in January. When I was announced in January, the main event of March 31st, the big fight, was a 4-way match. It was Hamlet Hertu versus PJ Savage versus Joey Conway versus Chavo Guerrero. And Chavo got pulled because he had obligations for WrestleMania weekend, coincidentally the same weekend of our show. And when I got the phone call to say, oh, my God, we lost Chavo, what are we going to do? I said, that's awesome. And they were all in the group call saying, wait, what? That's not awesome. I said, no, that's awesome. And they said, why? I said, because I don't want Chavo on the show. That is no disrespect to Chavo. There's a time and a place when a guy like Chavo will fit with Win. But what I wanted for Win was to say, it's WrestleMania weekend. There's a Hall of Fame ceremony. There's a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. There's a GCW show. And there's us. And we don't have a name. But I truly believe that roster in that locker room, and Alvin, you were in there, you can say it. I think you're going to agree with me by saying there was something special about that locker room there.
Yeah.
And whether it's because they knew they didn't have that name, and I insisted that we do not refill Chavo's spot. I insisted that match become a triple threat, and we do not bring a name in, and I want this company to be on the shoulders of that locker room. And let's see what Win is really made of. And when we went out there on that night against WrestleMania weekend, against Ring of Honor, against everybody else, without a name on it, not only did we sell out, but we broke the attendance record. And that is 1,000% on the locker room that we had on that show that night, and Alvin included in that.
And that's the difference between Win and other independent companies, is that you give your talent a chance, but other companies are just going to say, you know what, we'll throw a big name and we could sell the tickets that way.
Yeah, no, the tickets, and I've said this to everybody, tickets to me get sold when those fans see Alvin in his match and they build this symbiotic relationship. Whether they hate his guts or whether they love him, there's a relationship that's being formed. And what happens after that match is going to dictate whether these people want to come back and see Alvin get punched in the face or Alvin win and punch somebody in the face. But that's how you sell tickets. I don't sell tickets by going to my roster and saying, here's 20 tickets. Go give them to your mom, your sister, your friends. Go bring your grandmother. Get anybody. Just get everybody here. I don't do that. I want to give them their match. And I believe if they perform the way I know they can perform, those people will feel they can't miss the next show. That's how we did it in HWA. That is how every successful company does it. And I believe, again, it's not really the indie way for a lot of companies. And I don't blame anybody. It's just there's a strange format in independent wrestling that says, okay, if we sell 300 tickets, I could afford to bring in Tommy Dreamer, and we have Tommy Dreamer on the card. That'll get me my 300 tickets sold. And it's this weird cycle. But my question is, where's your roster in that equation? So to me, I'm going to remove that. And we're going to live and die by our roster one way or the other, because I believe wholeheartedly that I took this job on because I saw that roster, because I believe in Alvin Alvarez. I believe in PJ Savage. I believe in Papa Don and Chris Cage and Ellis Taylor. And I believe in, as much as I hate to say it, because I said on a personal level, I don't always see eye to eye. But the reality of it is there is no debating how talented Joey Conway is. And I truly believe that with enough consistency in this company, that fan base will be there for this roster because they're just that good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Alvin, where could people find you? Exactly.
Oh man, you can find me. Well, Friday you could find me. Guess where? Wrestling is now. 106 Bergen Street, Ridgefield Park, New Jersey.
The Mecca.
Then for Saturday you can find me NYWC, Going the Distance versus Bad Brad Benson. And then next Sunday, the 25th, I'm back at Championship Entertainment Theater back at Manitowoc.
Can't wait.
Yeah, man. That's that's June. And then I believe July 1st. Did we announce July 1st yet, Mr. Paul? I don't know if you announced July 1st.
No, I don't know that we announced anything for July just yet.
All right.
Nothing yet. Okay. All right. So I want
to wait and see.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much, Paul and Alvin, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome, Alvin. I'm glad we came to an arrangement. I can't wait to see you Friday. Absolutely. I can't wait to see what you do on Friday. And like I said, the floor is yours, and I hope you take every opportunity to steal the show.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for coming on the standing and us making a deal.
And you guys are going to kill it on Friday. So
sure.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother.